Okay, so um, my name's Kyle Sullivan. I am the director of a short film called Garden of the Gods, and I've got Mr. Marley Gregory with me, who is our one of our main characters and an evil dude. He has one of our starring roles in the film, and I wanted to take some time and ask him a couple of questions about that and about some other things. So, how are you doing? Are you stuck at home because of coronavirus?
Yeah, I mean, I have been. Today was actually my first day back at jiu-jitsu. That's why I'm wearing this. I
Ah,
just got back. We're not grappling like we were. We're just doing like yoga and kind of like kinesthetic stuff. But it's good to be back and out of the house.
you guys are maintaining like social distancing and stuff like that.
Yeah, like on the mats, we've got like these. I don't even know how big the squares are, but they're 6 feet apart, and we've got like 15 on this huge mat, so we're all socially distanced.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So, for anybody who obviously there's a lot of people who haven't seen this yet. Who are you basically? What do you do? How did you get involved in this profession?
So I'm originally from Boiling Springs, South Carolina, which is a little town. It's now a bigger town in Spartanburg. But I live in Orlando, Florida, currently working at Universal Studios. And really, I'm just an actor. I got my start in musical theater, and since I moved down here to work at theme parks, I decided to get into film and TV just because it's shorter form. You know, like working at a theme park, you don't have much time to really pursue theater. And I mean, people do it. They balance two or three different shows at a time, but that's not me. And I've always just been intrigued by that medium, film and TV. So to get back to your question, I got involved with Gardens of the Gods via Actors Access. You know, it was posted. I saw the casting call, and the synopsis was very interesting because normally you'll get these castings for like the gangbanger or like the drug dealer, and it's a very minuscule role. But with this, it was very different because it took that and switched it on its head. It like flipped it, you know. And I thought that was very interesting because it was coming from an Edgar Allan Poe adaptation of the Cask of Amontillado, and I love that. I grew up reading that in school. I read that specific one in sixth grade, and yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how it happened, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I know everything. I know that the coronavirus nonsense has everything kind of on pause. But were you doing anything else? With anything else? Any other projects in motion? Any other things you were trying to get to in the short term, despite the pause?
Not really. I mean, as an actor, you're constantly just auditioning. So that grind hasn't stopped. And even though, productions have stopped and halted, there's still casting calls going out, just ready for the time when we can all get back together and produce some things. However, I will say that I gained a little bit of inspiration from you in the closet. Whenever, let me clarify a little bit. So we had to do some voiceover, and Kyle has his equipment in the closet because noise reduction, and that gave me inspiration to do it myself. Which is why earlier I had said that otherwise I would be in the closet because I have it set up in the closet now. Right. So I've recently gotten into voice acting, and I've been submitting via that. So
Oh,
even
really?
though yeah, so even though the like video production side of it has slowed for me a lot, this whole new opportunity has arisen, and I'm
Huh.
embracing it and I'm loving it.
So, okay, so voice acting, that's almost a different animal. What are the differences to you, like someone who's done performance? Like, what is it? A different headspace, same headspace, different technical game? I mean, what's the difference?
So, in terms of the performance, it's essentially the same, because you're taking on these characters and you're using your own life experiences to bring them to life. But I would say that the major difference is you can't see me. And so, therefore, my inflections have to be that much more polished. The intent has to be there. And I really have to know what the hell is going on in the script. Now, technically, it's a lot different as well because there's a lot more elements. You've got digital audio workshop. I use Pro Tools. You've got different microphones that you have to figure out which one you're going to use that's going to best work for whatever it is that you're trying to do. So whether or not it's like radio or whether or not you're doing like audio narratives, yeah, I mean it's its own beast, just technically it really is.
Interesting. Do you gravitate towards certain styles of voiceover? What kind of like really outlandish characters or modern period piece like accents? Do you do accent work?
I've got a little bit of a British accent. I think right now I'm working more with like my own voice and just trying to hone and harness that first and foremost, and then from there kind of branch off. But I'm working currently on this like audio narrative. It's like different volumes. I'm currently in like volume 2. It's called The Wolf Brothers, but it hasn't been published or anything as of yet. But yeah, so I mean, right now it's just me kind of finding my voice because again I haven't been in here long in this field.
Very interesting, man. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We can talk about them at length or at short, depending on what strikes you. I guess the first thing I want to talk about is your experience on Garden of the Gods. You said you had read this story in high school. I came across a story on my own. Like they made us read one story in high school, and then I went home and was like, Poe, whatever. And I just read one. I was like, holy crap. What a spooky dude.
Right.
So what was your favorite shoot day and why?
I think my favorite shoot day was probably the party. And I feel like a lot of people say that just because there were so many elements that went into it, and it's like everything just kind of came together just so seamlessly. We had, like 20, 25 extras who were all extremely professional from what I saw. I mean, it was acting. But they were all really cool to work with. They all knew what they were doing, took direction really well. The crew was wonderful. And I think the most memorable aspect of that party scene was that it was 35 degrees outside, 40 degrees.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was really cold. But what struck me the most was the fact that we're all shivering out there, but as soon as action was said, it's just like, it wasn't even cold anymore. It was like you were just focused and everyone was in the moment. And I think that's what was my favorite aspect of that night, for sure.
Do you have a most challenging component to the shoot?
Most challenging? The cold. I mean, it's got to be the cold, because it really does take you out of it. I mean, I'm very fortunate that Daniel is such a professional, and he made it so easy just to connect with him and stay in the moment. But once there was a cut, it was just like back to freezing, back to shivering.
Yeah.
But it was all worth it. It was all well worth it. It was all such a great time.
Talk about Daniel for a second, because I know you guys. I know it's a short film. People will be like, "Yeah, he didn't spend that much time on it." You guys spend a lot of time talking and discussing and bouncing ideas off of each other. You guys obviously had some fun doing it, but tell me something about that. How did you guys? I mean, you guys found a good spot to work in. What was that like? And did he surprise you at all?
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of acting, it's always a surprise because you never know what the other person's going to do, and it's such a like they give and you receive and you react and then you give and then they receive. So it was always something unexpected. In terms of us getting together and really spending time together, we were very fortunate that we stayed with Bernadette Chapman, the casting director. We stayed at her place, and so we got very familiar. We would hang out in the living room area and run lines and just kind of talk shop about what we thought was going on in each one of our respective characters' headspace, So, yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, no, it did.
Okay.
That discussion you guys, that pre-gaming you guys did really affected everything, I think, for the better. All these little background details and what was he like in high school, and that stuff finds its way on screen, I think. I mean, this is a very particular type of film, kind of a gothic horror thing. It forced you to become a particular kind of character. And if I may be so bold, that's not your personality type. You seem a lot happier, more well adjusted, not so sadistic or whatever.
Right.
And I guess I wanted to ask, like, I know you're banging out interviews or auditions, I mean, and you're getting whatever you can get, really, probably. But is this kind of genre a preference? Could it become a preference? Do you have a preference, and what might that be?
I don't really have a preference, and to be honest, if it weren't for you and Katie, I don't think that I would have ever really received a chance to do a role like this. And so I really want to thank you guys because it really has opened my eyes to this genre, and I think I could really excel in this genre, but I wouldn't want to just strictly limit myself to this genre. I've always been a person who doesn't like the quote unquote like typecast. I know why it's important because it gives people a general sense of who you are in a split second, but I really just want to experience as much as I can in terms of acting and embodying people, because I do this because I find people very interesting, and for me to be able to dive into their headspaces, it's a lot of fun for me.
Is there a particular headspace or a character headspace that you're looking forward to? Like, I'm a Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Is like being on the bridge of a starship at the top of a list, or would you want to do a romantic comedy, for example? Is that something that sounds interesting?
I'd love to do it all. Like to be honest, I would honestly love to do it all. Right. Like the more the merrier. The more I can dive into, the happier that I'll be.
All right. Any final thoughts? I mean, we just posted our green light today. We're officially going into post-production, so it's going to be a little while before everyone sees it, but the train is definitely rolling.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, any final thoughts?
I know that you love Antarctica. Did you see that article where scientists took a balloon up high enough so that radio waves couldn't interfere with it, and where it's cold enough so that I guess the climate doesn't interfere with the data that they're collecting? And there are particles that come from space, and based off of those particles, which normally hit Earth but then don't go back up, that they saw moments where those particles were going up, and so therefore they think that a parallel universe where time goes backwards is a probability.
I caught wind of the headline, but I didn't know what to make of it. So this is legit. This is a legit research experiment.
So yes, it is very legit. However, and again, I'm no scientist, but I think potentially based on the density of the ice, could it be that the particles are reflecting? Like I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have to look this up now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very cool. Well, sir, thank you very much for your time, and be safe over there, and we'll talk in the future.
Heck yeah, man. You do the same.
Cool. Thanks, guy.